Habari gani familia angu? Mimi ni Eli-Ben-Eli. Mimi ni Babu Eli. I hope all of you had a happy Christmas. You know, I personally don't celebrate Christmas, but there is a great deal of beauty in the lights of the holiday season and the decorations, and I kind of enjoy that. But anyway, now begins a time of the year in which here in the United States, African Americans, or the descendants of the Africans who were brought here during the Middle Passage, you know, as slaves, one of the biggest tragedies in history. Let me just say this. There are some people who believe that 36 million people died in passage to the United States, which is, you know, major tragedy. But there's a holiday that the black community in America created called Kwanzaa, and until today I didn't understand something that I have finally figured out, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Kwanzaa is, you know, Kwanzaa means first fruit in Swahili. And a lot of the words are from Swahili. All of the words are from Swahili. You know, and then there's a candle lighting aspect to it that resembles the Jewish Hanukkah. And I have thought about it for years, and I have always dismissed it as confusion. You know, my reasoning, oh, by the way, I'm wearing this because it's very cold, and now that I broke off the topic, let me just quickly say something else. You know, please like and subscribe to my channel. Somebody suggested to me that I just buy subscribers and everything. I can't do that. That would be dishonest, and I will never lie to you. The number of subscribers that you see that I have is the number of subscribers that I have. I haven't bought them. I haven't asked anybody to assist me by shouting me out or whatever. You know, if anybody did it from their heart, I would appreciate that. But obviously, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, so it is what it is. But you know, I depend on you. I depend on individuals to employ the all-powerful finger. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Let's get Babu Eli to 1,000 at least. And from there, as far as Allah will have me to go. You know, but back to what I was talking about. I haven't understood why the American black community chose to build a sacred day commemorating the black community in America around Swahili. Why is it that I don't understand that? Well, the Africans who were brought here from Africa to the United States came from West Africa. So culturally, racially, we are really not that different than East Africans. I've been told by a lot of people that I look like a Luo, and you know, a lot. I look at the East Africans and I see so many people that look so much like me, and I understand the culture. I understand the people, the temperament. I don't feel that way about West Africa. Don't laugh at what I'm gonna tell you. In Judaism, we talk about events that happened centuries and centuries ago, you know, and nobody questions our right to do that as Jews. But when a black man talks about the feeling of pain and anguish that he feels about his ancestors having been brought to the United States in slavery, you know, close to 400 or 500 years ago, people tell them, oh, that happened a long time ago. Forget about that. I don't forget about it. Okay, I don't forget about it. And I will confess something. I love Igbos. And I know people from Guinea and from French-speaking African countries that I have come to be very good friends with. You know, I've known a handful of Nigerians that I have been good friends with. But the thing that will instantly kill my sense of friendship or love with a Nigerian or a West African is when they make fun of the fact that my ancestors were slaves. When they go, well, we didn't have prisons here, so we sold criminals. My attitude is, you know something? I wish somebody would explain to the African community in America. There was a time when the quota system from the continent of Africa was next to non-existent as far as immigration was concerned. Who is it that fought to have the immigration quota system changed so that more Africans could come to the United States? Black Americans. But then a lot of people come to this country from Africa and look down on black Americans. They call us slaves. They call us katakas. And, you know, it's like, you know, they criticize black Americans. My attitude is, if you come to America from Africa and you're unhappy with black Americans, please remember, this is their house. Okay, I am and I'm not an American. I'm legally an American citizen. I come from the New World. I come from the West Indies. My forebears were slaves. But I don't lay claim to being an American by blood. I was born in, even though my relatives were Americans, I was born in the West Indies. But the thing is that it's kind of complicated how some of us view Nigerians and West Coast Africans, largely Nigerians, because that's where a lot of the slave trade was conducted. Okay, I have, like I said, there's one family that I know here in this city that I love from Nigeria. Okay, but I also have dealt with a lot of Nigerians who are they come here to the United States and they're extremely disrespectful of black people. Okay, and they want to criticize black people. First of all, they don't understand something, and that is that in the United States of America, the black population are well educated. Most of a lot of professional athletes come from the black community. We have doctors, lawyers, college professors, businessmen. The rap music was invented by black people. Rock and roll, black people. Soul, black people. Black people have been the creators of a lot of American culture. Black people have been educated and prosperous even during the days of slavery. But they don't tell you that. The media and a lot of things, they make you think that everybody who's black is a drug dealer and a killer and this and that. Somebody like me. You know, there are a lot of people who look at me and say, oh, that must have been a criminal. I was an attorney. I've been an honest man all of my life. I was an elder of the SDA community. But if you come from Africa, they load you with so many negative images of who black Americans are. And like fools, a lot of people believe that. Why is it that we celebrate Kwanzaa, you know, which is based on East African culture? I think that a lot of people in the black community, including those who have invented the tradition of Kwanzaa and honor it, I think they feel profoundly hurt. I think they feel a profound sense of betrayal and rage at the people of Africa who sold us into slavery. Please remember your Bibles. In the Bible, there's a story of Joseph, who in Egyptian culture is called Imhotep, one of the greatest Egyptians who has ever lived. But he was also an Israeli. He was also a Jew. And his own brother sold him into slavery. And what happened with Joseph in Egypt? He went to Egypt, and his talent and skills made him prosper and made him go right to the top. And when the time came that he saw his own brothers, they didn't recognize him. But when he saw them and they came before him, he was at their mercy, and he hugged them and kissed them and forgave them for what they had done. Black Americans have done that kind of thing. You know, it's like they embrace Africans when Africans come here and befriend Africans. A lot of Africans don't see me as really being American. They consider me more of an African than I am an American. Maybe that's true. But the point is that the people of East Africa, they never sold us into slavery. Oh, some of them come here and want to be disrespectful. I had a Somalian girlfriend one time who I really, really loved, and she would call me a certain name, and I have never looked up the name in Swahili, because to this day it hurts me that much. One day I finally got angry and I told her, what does that word name mean? And she tried to make it like a joke, and I told her, what does that name mean? Tell me that or I'll never speak to you again. I'll never see you again. And she told me it was only a joke. I told her, tell me what the word means. All along she had been calling me slave. When I was in a Seventh-day Adventist church among that had a lot of Kenyans, there were a lot of them that sometimes didn't understand something about me, and that is it. I understand. It's like there are no walls inside of my head. I learned how to speak Hebrew in my mid-50s. I learned how to speak Arabic in my late 50s. I can learn anything at any point if I make up my mind to do it. Okay, I learned how to speak the little bit of Swahili that I know how to speak, almost without an effort. My point is this. In my lifetime, I was born in a country that spoke Spanish, so I speak Spanish. My father was half Dominican, half Asian. I learned how to speak a certain amount of patois. When I was in high school, most people in this country might learn a little bit of French in high school. When I was in high school, I took Spanish classes, Italian classes, French classes. I lived in New York City, so I learned how to speak a little bit of Yiddish. I also learned how to speak a little bit of Italian slang. Languages are easy for me to learn. Languages are very easy for me to learn. I have never, ever learned any language from West Africa. West Africans hurt us, and they don't respect the hurt that they did us. We are the tribe of, I always say that I have no tribe. I am of the tribe of Joseph. I'm of the tribe of people who were sold into slavery by their own brothers and sisters. And do I hate Nigerians? No. But can I ever set foot in Nigeria? Absolutely not. I'm sorry. I have a deep love of Africa, but the people who sold my ancestors into slavery, the part of the world where my ancestors were sold into slavery, I won't say what's in my heart for that part of the world. And there are a lot of Americans that are not like me, but there are also a lot of Americans who, if they figure out that a person is from West Africa, they won't even talk to them. They won't sit down to eat with them. They won't. That's reality. And if you don't understand that, that's your problem. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to say that again. Please understand the sense of hurt that we all have. And please understand the sense of rage that we feel when a West African comes here and tries to act like if it's funny or it's a joke. I have known West Africans. One of them told me that he lived in Atlanta and there was a Ku Klux Klan march. Ku Klux Klan are notorious haters of black people. He says that he put on a suit and he marched with them, and he thought he thought he was being funny. Okay, one time years and years ago, when I was in college as a young man, I was drawing something. I was drawing something on the blackboard of the classroom before the class began. And this American woman who didn't like me, a black woman, made certain comments about what I was drawing. And I just laughed at her and ignored her. And this West African who was sitting there, asked the girl, "Do you want me to make him stop drawing that?" And at that point, I kind of started laughing and turned and I started laughing and I turned and I faced him and I asked him, "What did you say?" And he pretended that he was, he's a warrior, probably a prince from some West African country. I told him, "What did you say?" And the woman told him, "Oh, never mind that." And I asked him, "What did you say? Repeat it again." I think he thought he was a very brave man. But I'm going to tell you something. I grew up in that town. I grew up in that area. I grew up minutes from where that classroom was. I knew that area like the back of my hands. It was across the street from a park called Rufus King Park. I'm glad that he didn't speak, okay? Because a lot of the time, the rage and the anger and the ill feelings that you have toward a history of cruelty in which your own black people played a role can lead to a tragedy. And I think that man thought that he was he probably was. He was probably a warrior from his country, a prince, and he thought that he was going to get up and make me do something. And my attitude is, he could have done it. He could have gotten up and made me do something. But I don't know how he was going to live out the rest of his life after making me do anything. And I think he did a little bit of exploring and found out who I was. I never saw him again after that day, and I'm glad, because it was not a good situation. Anyway, I have made fun of Kwanzaa for most of my life, for a lot of different reasons. But today I understand Kwanzaa. And I understand, suddenly it occurred to me that those people who chose the culture of East Africa, the culture of Swahili speakers, to base a black holiday on, they remembered who participated with the Europeans in enslaving us and sending us to this land. We didn't climb on airplanes and come here voluntarily. We were brought here against our will, as slaves. And in spite of that, like Joseph rose from being a lowly Hebrew slave to being Imhotep, the greatest Egyptian who ever lived. Americans, look at what we have done in this country. Look at the achievements in music, in sports, in entertainment, in politics. I'm going to say something that a lot of people won't understand. I loved Barack Obama, but Barack Obama was not truly a black man. And I'm not saying that because he was his mother was white. There are a lot of black men who have white relatives. I have white relatives. No, the reason that I say that is because Barack Obama came from an East African nation. He was a Luo. and Barack Obama, his ancestors didn't experience the Middle Passage. His ancestors weren't, some of them weren't among the 36 millions who died being transported to the United States. And so I always, as much as I love Barack Obama, there came a point at which I realized there was a level of pain about our history that he doesn't have because his ancestors, even though his skin is black, like the skin of most East Africans, they have not experienced they don't have the pain and feeling of degradation that comes with understanding that our ancestors were brought here against their will in slave ships, packed like animals in their own feces, sometimes dying. A lot of them died. A lot of them did what I know I would have done had I been on that slave ship. They were allowed to go up to the top of the outside of the bottom of the slave ship a few times a week. And some of them, when they would be allowed to go up, would throw themselves into the sea, into the ocean, and allow themselves to be drowned by the waters. They say that to this day, the sharks swim along the path of the ships that brought my ancestors here because they got used to eating human flesh from the dead that were thrown overboard and from those who chose to die rather than be slaves. It's not funny to make jokes about slavery. I, from this day forward, will celebrate Kwanzaa. I don't expect anything from West Africans. They come here and they laugh at Black Americans. They come here, they marry women for green cards. They cheat people and everything. I'm gonna be celebrating Kwanzaa this year, and it may not mean anything to any of you, but it means everything to me. This is not a good time of the year. It makes you think a lot about family. It makes you think about Black history, and that can be, I was determined that I was going to enjoy this holiday season, but suddenly today, I did some hard thinking, and it suddenly dawned on me why the inventors of Kwanzaa chose Swahili as the basis of their celebration and not a West African language. Anyway, folks, forgive me if I'm not my normal laughing self and, I'm not in a good mood, but, it enrages me that my ancestors were forced into slavery. And by the way, those of you that are sitting back saying, well, whatever, let me explain something to you. Your ancestors were slaves too, even if you didn't. Your ancestors were slaves too, even if they weren't brought to America. Okay? Look at how Marwa effortlessly reduced so many of you to slavery. But I'm going to tell you something else. In the early 1800s, my Haitian ancestors rose up throughout the armies of France, England, the United States, and Spain, and created the first free African colony that became a nation in history. What have you folks done? The British freed you at some point. The British allowed you to declare an independent nation. Nobody allowed us to do anything. We took it for ourselves. So if the next time you want to have an attitude about Haitians or Black Americans, please remember that. We fought for our freedoms. We built the United States. Okay? If you want to look down on somebody else, look in the mirror. Kwaheri.